Hello, my wonderful students. I hope you are doing well, doing pretty good here. For today's lesson, it is going to be Module 7, Lesson 13. But what that means for you is you're definitely going to need a calculator. Use the one on the iPad if you'd like. If you've got something similar to this, that's fine too. Before you get going, make sure you know how to use the cube root button. So not just finding a square root of a number, but a cube root. There's a lot of good videos that can show you how to use this calculator better than I can. But if you do have questions, obviously let me know, and I can walk you right through that, and I will take the time to do that. So just know you'll need your calculator and how to be able to calculate a cube root. I'll kind of do a demonstration on the iPad calculator here in just a moment. So with today's lesson, what we are doing is we're simply just doing greater than, less than, equal to. So for our first question here, and I'm going to do just this one, and then I'm going to ask you to work on your own. It says Rodney thinks that the cube root, okay, so cube root, let me show you what I'm talking about here. The cube root of 64 is greater than 17 over 4, or 17 divided by 4. Who is right and why? So this is a greater than, less than question. Let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to first find the cube root of 64. Now using the calculator on my iPad, this is how I have to do it. I'm going to type in 64 first. I'm going to type in 64 first. Then I'm going to hit that button right next to the number 4, to the left of it. And if you can see that, there's a 3 outside of that symbol for root, and then the X on the inside. So I'm going to hit that cube root button, and it gives me 4. And that should make sense, because if I leave that 4 there and I hit the button to the left of the one I just hit, where it says x to the power of 3, boom, gets me 64. So to clear that out again, 64, hit the button to the left of the 4, which is the cube root button. And so the cube root of 64 is 4. So I'll go back and write that down. So cube root of 64 equals 4. And now we're going to find out what 17 over 4 equals, or 17 divided by 4. So I'll go back to the calculator, clear that out, type in 17 first, divided by 4, and then hit equal. And that does give me 4 1/4, which is true. So now I can answer this question properly. It asked me which one was greater, and Sam was right. So Sam's number is greater, so Sam was correct. You would need to be able to explain that. Sam's number is 4 1/4 is larger than 4. What I'm going to ask you to do, because that's really all we're doing. Go ahead, hit pause, do the rest of this class work. It's number 2 through 8, I believe. And then when you come back, we're going to check your answers. So go ahead and hit pause now. Okay. Now that we're back, we're going to just check our answers. Number 2 says, which number is smaller? And that's key too, to keep in mind of what they're asking you. The previous one asked which one was larger. This one's asking which one is smaller. So is it the cube root of 27, or is it just the number 2 89/100ths? So I'll go back to my calculator. I'm going to clear it out. I'll type in 27, and then I'm going to hit that button, since it's asking for the cube root, to the left of the 4. When I hit that, the cube root of 27 is 3, and that should make sense, because if I do 3 times, let me clear all this out. If I do 3 times 3 times 3, so that's taking 3 times itself 3 times, it does give me 27, just checking my work. So it says which one is smaller. So if the cube root of 27 is 3, 2 89/100ths is smaller. The explain is me just showing you my work there. So I won't really ask you to explain. I'll just have you type in the answer if I ever ask you it. Okay. The next one. The square root, which number is smaller? The square root of 121 or the cube root of 125? Again, which one is smaller? So let's go back. Let's find the square root of 121. So for this one, I'm going to hit 121 and then hit the square root button, which is the button left of the 7. Now it doesn't have a 2 on the outside of it, but you have to know when it's just that the square root or the root symbol and then an X, it automatically means there's a 2 on the outside. So I'm going to go and hit that button, and it gives me 11. And that should make sense. 11 times 11 is 121. So the square root of 121 is 11. And we're going to find out what the cube root of 125 is right now. And so, doing the cube root, 125, and then cube root is the button to the left of the 4, is 5. And to check my work, that means if I do 5 times itself 3 times, it should give me 125. So 5 times 5 times 5, there's 3 5s there, and it does in fact give me 125. So it asks me which one is smaller. You would answer the cube root of 125 is smaller, is less than the square root of 121. All right, so which number is smaller? This one right here, the square root of 49 or the cube root of 216, I'm just going to save a little bit of time. I know the square root of 49 is 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. The cube root of 216, I have an idea, but I don't know for sure, so I'm going to check with my calculator. So 216, and it wants the cube root, and it is 6. And let's check our work. 6 times 6 times 6. There we go. So gets me 6, and it says which one is smaller. Which one is smaller? So the cube root of 216 is smaller. Let's go down here. The square root of 50, or which one is greater this time, not smaller? Is it the square root of 50, or is it 319 divided by 45? Well, let's check. Clear that out. 50, and then the square root button. And so this gets me a non-terminating number, an infinite number. So for now, I'm going to round it off to the thousandths, or I'm going to truncate it to the thousandths place. So I'm going to write down that 7.071. So this goes to 7.071. And then now let's do 319 divided by 45. 19 divided by 45. And I get 7.08 repeating. The 9 at the very end is just because they rounded that last digit up. But 7, so I'm going to write down 7.088. I'll truncate that one as well. So 7.088. And so if I'm comparing these, this one is less than that one, and it says which one is greater. So this number is greater, that one is greater. Barely, but it is greater. All right, number 6, which is greater, 5 over 11 or 0.4 repeating? So all I have to do as far as work here is just do 5 divided by 11. So 5 divided by 11 equals 0.45 repeating forever. So let me bring that back. So is it 0.45 repeating forever, or is it 0.4 repeating forever? So that first number here, that top number, is barely larger. So 5/11ths is barely larger than 0.4 repeating forever. Last couple here. Which is greater, the square root of 38 or 154 divided by 25? So 38 and the square root of that. So we'll call it 6.164. 6.164. Now we're going to do 154 divided by 25. 6.16 exactly. Here's what's pretty cool. So this one is just 4 thousandths larger, because I can put a 0 there, and it says which one's greater. So the square root of 38 is just, and if I could ask you how much greater it is, it's 4 thousandths greater, or the way I could write that is 0.004 greater, if I were to ask you that. It's just barely bigger. All right, which number is greater, the square root of 2 or 15 divided by 9? So clear that out. Let's do the square root of 2, which is 1.414. 1.414. 414. And then let's go ahead and do 15 divided by 9. 1.6 repeating forever. I can just put that there too since I have 3. All right. And so I see that this one is slightly greater, 15 over 9. All right. Last couple here. All right, so placing it on a number line, this will be key. So the first few exercises are just kind of warming you up to, like, you know, to be able to do this, place them on a number line. I'm going to do a couple quickly because I know their answers right off the top of my head. I know the square root of 25 is exactly 5, so I'm going to place it right here. Make that look a lot better. Square root of 25. And let me read the directions first. It says place each of the following numbers at its approximate location on the number line. I know the square root of 25 is exactly 5. I also know that the square root of 36 is exactly 6. And so I know these 3 here, or 4, I'm sorry, these 4 here are going to go between these two. It's going to go between the square root of 25 and the square root of 26. So I know all of my answers are going to be like 5.0 something up until 5.9 something. Just got to plug in my calculator and put them approximately where they go. So the first one I'll do is the square root of 28. So 28 square root is 5.29. So I'm going to use my tenths place since that's what my number line has. So I'm just going to call that about 5.3. So 5.3 is the square root of 28, about, approximately. So this one is done, that one's done, this one's done. I like to keep track of that. Square root of 30. 5.47, I'll go and round that up to 5.5. So square root of 30. Now square root of 32. 5.65, I'll go ahead and put that at 5.7. Again, I'm rounding, I'm not truncating. And then my last one, square root of 35. 5.91, and if I round, that does round back down to 5.9. So square root of 35. And then there we go. So you will have a question like that on your exit ticket. It should be pretty clear. It'll either make you put it on it won't let you put it between the dots. There'll be dots that they actually go on. All right, the last one, they call it a challenge, but I don't really see why. And maybe it's just wanting you to kind of take a guess in your head of which one would be larger, the square root of 5 or the cube root of 11. If you just had to guess, hopefully you would guess this correctly, just thinking about what a square root is and what a cube root really is. But we'll do the math for it. So let's do the square root of 5 first. 2.236, we'll just call that, so we'll bring that up. 2.236. And then the cube root of 11. 2.224, I'll call it, because I'm rounding up. 2.224. These numbers are the same. The tenths are the same. There's where a difference comes in, the hundredths place. So this number here is just slightly larger. That would be your answer. From here, this problem set is fantastic to do, to really make sure you understand it. Answer keys on the next page. It's just these 6 questions. Let me come back here. So hopefully that made sense to you. It's a pretty straightforward lesson. So hopefully you're understanding now. You need to be able to calculate cube roots, square roots, whether it's infinite numbers, finite numbers, and then be able to place them on a number line is now the goal today. And you can either do that with rounding, truncating. We're starting to add a lot of pieces to our puzzle here. Got any questions? Hit me up. Other than that, great job. Keep it up, guys. And hopefully I talk to you soon. Bye-bye.